Bradley Holly does not get going. Everybody has to try and take avoiding maneuvers, someone even taking to the grass. And the front row just had a horrible start as Raymond Day also gets swamped. Boucher is going to go from fourth to first by the first turn.
That is now Ozzie Milwain trying to take a little bit of a look. Oh, what a great move by Michael Broomhead. Caught Andrew Hardman napping, and now they're going to be side by side going into the Curva Grande. Is Fonseca and McKenzie still going at it down into Rent. Fonseca holding it out for now. A little bit of a better run, though, for McKenzie.
Oh, and a bump. He gets into the back of him. Fonseca spins off. And McKenzie, is he going to get third? Because here comes Tavantos, and Tavantos takes third away from both of them.
Indeed, and now Almanar looking for a little bit of a fight back. He's going to poke his nose to the inside. That's a very tricky area to try to get that move done. Move's going to favor back, but Almanar's going to hold it around the outside. He has got it done and dusted. A great move for Jonathan Almanar.
Allowing him to retain that sixth position for now, but once again, a better exit, and this time the over-under worked a treat for Corey Lotfula. He's going to get the inside, and this drag race up to 130R should go in his favor, depending on how brave Doug Bacchignone is. Let's see, and not brave enough is the answer.
You heard that exasperation out of me, Joe. A bad push there, catches it, taps from behind, completely sideways, massive opposite lock, and he keeps it pointed the right way. Great job, Byron McDonald.
This is it. Big draft. Almost middle of the road there for Topi Kortanimi. Up the inside goes Togo Hisada. He has to get on the brakes, though. They're side by side through 130R. This is the battle for the win on the final lap here. Kortanimi stays defensive. Coming into the Casio triangle. Squeezing him.
I think Pi cannot do much here except break his late as he dares, which he tries and keeps an overlap into the left-hander, around the right-hander. He's got the outside. That tends to see better momentum, and it does this time. But now he's on the long way around from multiple corners and just gets fed out to the outside of the track. It is not there for Karthik Pi, and he finally gives up the ghost. Defensive move out of Mark Kalin denies him for now, but he goes a little wide at the apex.
Does indeed. There you see the move from Jacques Boucher. He's going to try to take it out into that little kink now, but he's going to have to go the long way around Cascades. It's not going to work out, but that's going to open up the door to Bradley Holly. There he goes on through up into the podium position.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Dover was won through staying out under caution, but with a much longer circuit where tyre wear is just as important a factor, will we see more surprises pulled from the playbook? It's been a difficult start to the season for many drivers, but they have a chance to make good on their potential this week. The Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series heads to Pocono Raceway for round 3 of 2022 Season 1, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hello everyone, I'm Reese Gardner, and with me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Pocono Raceway, popularly known as the Tricky Triangle, the oval that drives like a road course. Why is that? Let us consult the track guide to learn more.
Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania is probably one of the most unique oval tracks in the country and has a long and storied history of racing. Opening in 1971, they wanted this place to be different, so why not make it have 3 turns? That's right, a triangle. But isosceles triangles are boring, so let's model each turn differently with different radiuses and banking. So around here, you have this incredibly long front straight known as the Long Pond Straight, 3,740 feet long and 100 feet wide. It's known for the incredible fanning out that happens in starts and restarts, but you have to get sorted before you get to turn 1. Turn 1 is banked at 14 degrees, modeled after the old Trenton Speedway. It gets tight quick, and you need to pick the right line to be fast here. Your lap depends on it. Turn 2 is banked at 9 degrees and inspired by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's fast and quick, and if you hear somebody refer to the tunnel turn during the race, it's turn 2 they were talking about, with the tunnel to the infield running underneath. Turn 3 is only banked at 6 degrees, and it's modeled after Milwaukee. It's long and sweeping, almost feels like it won't end before you jump back onto that truly endless front stretch. Pocono is most known for stock car racing, but it was originally designed for open wheel racing, and USAC Kart and IndyCar all had tenures here. Today we race on the new version of Pocono and iRacing. With its repaved track surface and redone interior walls, it's as fast and tight as ever. And we'll be sure to put the tricky in Tricky Triangle.
What a track, Chris. Pocono, certainly one of the more interesting ovals on any NASCAR or IndyCar schedule, and this time the trucks, of course, will be racing here. Interesting to note that they don't have to downshift for the first turn. They're just staying in 4th gear all the way around, but with the long straights and very difficult corners, this could be an interesting night of racing.
Yeah, well, they may not have to manage the transmission as much with the shifting, Reese. They're going to have their hands full with the rest of the track. This is a very technically challenging course with 3 very distinct turns, each based on a historic oval track. And the drivers are going to be racing the track as much as they're racing each other here today. A lot of challenges coming their way with how they approach turn number 1. And you'll see a lot of fanning out down the front stretch. And then, of course, turn 2, the tunnel turn, is always a challenge. It's basically a flat turn there, and you'll see a lot of drivers that try to enter that 2 and sometimes even 3 wide, and does not typically work out very well. So there's going to be a lot of space management going on here at Pocono today.
Absolutely there is, and to be clear about the turn banking, turn 1, 14 degrees, turn 2, 8 degrees, and turn 3, 6 degrees. So that gives you an idea for how difficult it is to get around here for the drivers today. Let's take a moment here to thank our series sponsors as the drivers are in the final minutes now of the practice session. Our broadcast today is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate SimRacers, Advanced SimRacing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Truck Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Brilliant stuff to see these companies continuing to provide their support to this fantastic series here at the Precision Racing League. Let's take a look at how the championship stacks up coming out of the second round at Dover. It's still Bradley Holly who leads the way. Abner Acosta only trailing him by 4 points, but thanks to that win at Dover last round, Thomas Sink only a further 2 points behind. It's actually incredibly close here for the top 5, with Colton Lane and Charles Sumner in 4th and 5th, with Sumner grabbing that podium last round at Dover.
Yeah, it's incredibly close here, which is good to see. We are in the early stages of this season, only the 3rd round here, but this is, if it's an indication of how the rest of the season's going to go, I am here for it.
I am here for it as well, and should be for every single round of the series this year. In terms of team points, it's Waterback who still leads the way in the top 2 spots. Back Row and Overdrive dominating, separated by only 7 points. And then it's looking a little bit close there for 4th between Starton Park and private label Team Hype. Abner Acosta, the lead driver at that particular team. Car Ramrod in a bit of a no man's land there in 3rd place, but they still have a good gap behind.
Yeah, it's kind of been the theme with the team championship the last couple seasons, is a great battle up front, and then a great battle for around 4th and 5th, and then 3rd place just kind of ends up being a lone man there.
We'll see how the team standings stack up coming out of this round. And speaking of this round, let's check out what the drivers have in store for them tonight. It's 45 laps here at Pocono. That is, of course, if the race doesn't go time certain. It is limited to an hour. We have 4 total tyre sets, your starting set, and only 3 more. And, of course, it is fixed setup, so all the drivers will be driving the exact same settings. But we probably will see some fiddling around with brake bias, Chris, especially considering that every turn here requires a different approach.
That's right. That's one thing about Pocono is everyone's going to have a different approach to how they take things on, and I think the drivers that are the most familiar with this track are going to be the ones that have the greatest advantage.
Yes, and it is popularly known as the oval that drives like a road course, and considering his road course experience, this guy here, number 5, Abner Acosta, may very well be in with a shot to compete properly for the win. And at Dover, he didn't quite have the best run at the start, but it was a great run for him from 30th all the way up to 5th. Fantastic drive, just surviving the carnage at Dover. Of course, Bradley Holly and Thomas Sink up at the front of the field as well. Charles Sumner putting in some great times as well in practice. But we are in the 5-minute qualifying session now, and we'll be waiting to see what kinds of times the drivers will be setting on their own here with no draft to assist them.
Yeah, so we'll look to see time significantly slower than the 54, 55-second range that we saw in practice, just because everyone's going to be out on the track by themselves. So it's going to be down to who can drive the smoothest and the best around the track that'll get the top time.
Adam Zemke here, car number 57. Oh, truck number 57, I should say. One of the first drivers out in this qualifying session, and it's been quite some time since I've commentated a race at Pocono, let alone raced here, so I'm not too sure how the drivers are going to approach the outlap here. Traditionally on high-speed super speedways, you see drivers taking their first lap to sort of set up a run high through the banking on the way onto the start-finish straight. But that's not the case here at Pocono. That final turn is certainly a bit of a difficult one to stack up through. It's all about the exit, all about mechanical grip, and Zemke now starts his lap, taking a tour around Pocono now. This high-banked turn one, quite an interesting corner this, and you've got to be very careful on the exit. You see how there's quite a transition from the banking to the flat surface of the straight. If you get it slightly wrong there, then you're going to be spinning into the wall.
That's right. There's so many parts of this track that can really reach up and bite you. Adam Zemke going through one of those right now, what they call the tunnel turn, turn number 2 there. It's a really awkward transition, the way the corner kind of kinks around. But this is where you make or break your lap, is right here in turn number 3. Relatively flat. You want to get right as close to that yellow line as you can. And you can see the groove transitions out towards the wall, and you're going to want to run right up against that wall down this front straightaway. It's one of the longest straightaways in NASCAR, and this will be where you make your money.
Certainly drivers making their money here in qualifying, with Ryan Goodall taking provisional pole out of the first set of drivers to set times here as Abner Acosta exits the lane, and Aaron Webb going to P4 on a 55.3, and Bradley Holly, his first lap, certainly pretty good, 55.347, but he'll be used to setting times that put him right up at the front on the front row. It's not the case so far. Thomas Sink to 4th place, and now Abner Acosta will be lining up here for his final attempt, I would imagine, at a qualifying lap. I'm very interested to see that Ryan Goodall is so quick here. He showed great pace in practice, and he showed excellent potential as Abner Acosta goes fastest, just as I was saying that, 55.174. Excellent stuff there from him. And that's especially interesting considering it looked like he had a tiny bit of an oversteer moment coming out of turn 1. He wasn't quite on line down the straight.
Then you have Bradley Holly here, currently 7th after his first attempt at a lap. He's going to pick up about half a tenth there, and it's not really going to do much for him on the charts, though. Still remains, looks like, in that 7th position.
Yeah, Danny Cervantes just put in a lap, and we've had further drivers make appearances in the top 10. Paul Williams bumps Bradley Holly down to 9th place. So a qualifying session for the reigning it's the reigning year-long champion, I should say, Bradley Holly, not going his way here at Pocono. He's going to have to try and work his way up. Danny Cervantes now on his 2nd lap. He's currently in 6th here in truck number 25. Will he be able to improve and put himself up into the top 5? Slightly wide in turn 3, but he keeps it out of the wall. Coming down the front stretch, is this going to be an improvement for Danny? Doesn't look like it. Oh, actually, no. He does move up a place and into the top 5. Meanwhile, Mark Kalin moves up 1 place into 7th. And it seems that just about every driver who is allowed to set times in qualifying has done so. As we enter the final few seconds of the session, this truck here is going to make his way across the line just in time. That is Ricky Barbary, who manages to set a time good enough for 9th place. Great session there for him in truck number 54. And that is qualifying over. And we will go through the grid for round 3 of 2022 for the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. It's Abner Acosta and Jeff Evans on the front row. Excellent performance there from Evans, with Ryan Goodall as well putting in a great run to start third alongside Doyle Lawrence. Danny Cervantes and Clayton Montgomery make up row 3. Then we got Mark Kalin and Thomas Sink 7th and 8th. Ricky Barbary and Paul Williams II rounding out the top 10.
And just outside of the top 10, shockingly, Bradley Holly starting 11th. Jim Westerfield will be 12th. Then Richard Thomas and Brendan Chatley make up row number 7. Colton Lane and Austin Hunter will be in row number 8, followed by Aaron Webb and Barron Hilton in row number 9. Charles Sumner, coming off a podium finish last week, clocks in at 19th fastest, with Adam Zemke right next to him in 20th.
Starting in 21st will be 79 Adam Shane alongside AJ Roderick. The 12th row, Danik Momi and Clayton Curry. We got Joshua Tellez and CM Pennington 25th and 26th, with Nick Hunter and Stacey Hunter making it an all Hunter row 14. Then it's Randy Caldwell and Ryan Traver rounding out the top 30.
And a few stragglers towards the back here. Row number 16 is Blob Clement, followed by Michael Lemieux in 32nd. Daniel Alley, Rob Neller, James Dewar, and Yao Guerra complete the field.
And of course, the final 5 drivers not setting times in the qualifying session, and I think at least a couple of them are due to incidents that happened last round at Dover. It's a typical penalty in this series. If you're deemed to have caused a caution or the like, you are not allowed to qualify at the next round. But the driver's wasting no time here getting out onto the racetrack. Jeff Evans going straight onto the racing surface. Everyone else taking their time just a little more. And he's certainly looking to follow the pace car in the lead, with Abner Acosta straggling just a little bit. And oh dear, that's once again a typical problem for Abner Acosta. That slight blinking. He'll be hoping that that sorts itself out by the time we go green. We've got 4 cameras here tonight for our drivers. You see them as pixels on the screen. Well, now you see what they actually look like. That is Austin Hunter there. And we've got Aaron Webb as well on cam 2. Meanwhile, we've got Charles Sumner, podium getter last round at Dover, on the 3rd cam. And of course, as always, we've got Bradley Holly right there on your screen. So there'll be some interesting perspectives to keep track of throughout this race. We'll be able to see how the drivers are reacting to everything that's going on around them. It's only a single formation lap here at Pocono Raceway. This track incredibly long, 2.5 miles. That is around 4.02 kilometers. Incredibly long track as the drivers now through the tunnel turn. This blinking is continuing here for Abner Acosta, and this could potentially be something he doesn't want. We'll have to see if that manages to work itself out for him. As the green flag flies, the pace car is in and we are racing at Pocono. It's an all right start on the bottom line there, with Abner Acosta leading the way. Jeff Evans, though, managing to keep everyone behind him and stay side by side with Ryan Goodall into turn 1. Acosta moves up to the outside line to widen the entry into the first turn. Still blinking there at the front of the field, and that won't inspire much confidence as, oh, big slide there for Mark Kalin, making a slight bit of contact with Doyle Lawrence, and he's going to get swallowed up by the field. Through the tunnel turn then. The drivers just fighting a bit of oversteer here on the cold tyres, and we've got to remember that tyres are the main thing to keep track of in this series. There's not much in the way of minimising tyre scrub, so they need to take it very easy here in the opening laps. As lap 1 now complete, it is Acosta who leads the way from Evans, Goodall, Cervantes, Lawrence. Bradley Holly has already made his way up to 6th.
Yeah, Holly never one to let much grass grow beneath his feet when he has to start deep in the field. Already making up several positions, and it looks like he's making a move on Doyle Lawrence now to break into the top 5.
Very good run through turn 1 there for Bradley Holly, and carries that momentum down the back stretch. He's going to drag Clayton Montgomery along with him. Montgomery on the inside now of the tunnel turn. Will he be able to get the move done on Doyle Lawrence? Not quite. Does wash up the track a little bit, but there we go. That is that done for them. And Holly now will focus on moving his way forward. It looks like Acosta, Evans, Goodall and Cervantes, your top 4, have broken away from the rest of the field. Bradley Holly will start working his tyres very hard now to try and catch up to them, as Clayton Montgomery now finally makes his way past Doyle Lawrence. He's going to drag Richard Thomas with him. A little bit of bump drafting perhaps coming into turn 1, and they will both make their way by him.
That's one thing to watch out for here at Pocono on these very long straightaways. The draft is definitely something that can play a role here, and you'll see them line up, and sometimes you'll even see a lead vehicle that'll snake its way across that front straightaway just to try to break up the draft and hold their advantage.
Certainly a big element of the racing here at Pocono. Seems that Bradley Holly, well, he is breaking away from the drivers behind him, but not making much of an impression on the top 4 here in these opening laps. Going to have to wait for a while to see what he can do. He's going to have to already start thinking about managing his tyres. With everyone still very close together like this, there's every chance that there might be a wreck and a caution. So that will give drivers a chance to preserve their tyres a little more, as Paul Williams now making his way past Doyle Lawrence and moving up into 8th place. That's quite the pack of drivers here in the midfield.
Yeah, that's a good point you made there, Races. This is a track that historically has not seen very many cautions for these PRL trucks. So tire management early on is going to be a big deal here to make it through the end of a green flag pit cycle.
For sure. Now, Paul Williams lining up a move on Richard Thomas, manages to force the door open coming into the tunnel turn, and oh dear. Easy does it. That is Mark Kalin making his way past Doyle Lawrence, who clips the wall coming out of turn 3. And that will result in a big loss of position. Lawrence now falling all the way down the order, down to 14th, probably 15th, as Austin Hunter now makes his way past him. But everyone's still keeping it largely clean here. Slight bits of oversteer through the first turn here, and that's one of those corners where rotation is key.
That's right. Turn 1 is part of the track that can really make or break your entire lap. I mean, if you get that one wrong, you have that whole lap spent trying to recover it, and you're going through low-speed corners the rest of the lap. So that's going to make it a lot more difficult to get the momentum back up, and then you're compromised all the way until you get it back around to the front straightaway.
Doyle Lawrence still having a bunch of issues there as he continues to lose position, but a bit further up, we got Clayton Montgomery and Paul Williams side by side. Just behind them, Richard Thomas still assisting the straight line momentum of Clayton Montgomery. I think that Paul Williams will be able to get this done into turn 1. If you're on the outside into that corner, as you can see, that's a big loss of momentum for Clayton Montgomery. There's not much rubber there on the outside.
Yeah, that's something that may improve as the race goes on, but definitely I wouldn't bank my whole strategy on that working out.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of scrubbing going on, and oh, big pushing there for Ricky Barbary on the outside of turn 2. He manages to keep it out of the wall, but he will lose a position out of that. Brendan Chatley going to make a move up the inside into turn 3, and Chatley finishing 3rd at Dover last week. One of the drivers that elected to stay out under the last caution. Not quite able to get the move done there on Barbary, who held the outside line very nicely through turn 3. But once they get to turn 1, as we saw last lap, it's going to be the inside line with the advantages. Oh dear, that looks like a bit of a slow truck there. Wreck in the back. That is car 666 Daniel Ailey, and Randy Caldwell making his way into the lane with some damage. Fortunately, we do stay green.
Yeah, that's one thing about this track. If you do end up spinning, there's plenty of room to stay out of the groove and hopefully keep the race green as long as possible. Going to head to our replay here and take a look. And yep, that'll happen in turn 3. the track gets so narrow, and it's a very tight part of the track. And looked like it was the 3 truck there that got yeeted over into pit lane there, Reese.
Yeah, that's certainly not a good thing to have happen, with Randy Caldwell an innocent victim in all of that. Turned out to be Ryan Traver taking a bit of an early apex in turn 3 and washing up into Daniel Ailey, and that caused a bit of a chain reaction. As we said, though, fortunately, the race is still green, and it is still Abner Acosta who leads the way. In fact, he has extended that gap now over Jeff Evans, and the battle for second is looking incredibly close at the moment. Ryan Goodall and Danny Cervantes keeping him honest.
That's right. That battle for second right now is pretty intense here, with Evans holding the spot, but he has got his hands full with Ryan Goodall and Danny Cervantes there.
It's looking like Cervantes is being nice and patient here, though, not trying to go for moves. These guys just looking to consolidate their positions as things stand. We are only 9 laps in to this 45-lap race. We've got to keep an eye on Bradley Holly as well. He ran a time just almost a tenth faster than Danny Cervantes, and one of the few drivers to get into the 55s. In fact, the only driver in the 55s on the last lap. So keep an eye out there for Bradley Holly. He is left 6th place on back behind, and my goodness, what a fight it is for 6th on back. Paul Williams versus Richard Thomas. Thomas getting a very good run out of turn 2. He's going to go up the inside now into turn 3, and that is 6th place for truck number 11. Or is it? Let's see if Williams can hook up the throttle around the outside. Manages to keep the momentum up. Very nicely done. This newest scan of Pocono, which dates from 2016, replaced the old scan, which had a strip of tarmac, fresh tarmac, in the middle of turn 3. And before this track was updated, you'd actually see drivers staying in the middle of turn 3 just because it was the fastest line.
That's right. This newer scan post-repave of the track here, and does not have the advantage of having that extra strip of fresh asphalt to use. So unfortunately, it's a matter of just hitting your marks in the corner there.
Finally, Richard Thomas gets it done on Paul Williams there into tunnel turn, and Clayton Montgomery maybe looking for a move. No, he's going to stay behind into turn 3, but oh dear, Williams about a car's width up from the apex. That doesn't mean too much, though. It does translate into a good exit for him as we have our first caution of the night. And goodness me, truck number 18, Rob Neller, tumbling over. What on earth has gone on there?
Well, obviously Rob Neller there having some issues staying within the laws of gravity as we follow along with truck number 18 through turn number 2. You'll see the transition, just gets into the wall off of turn 2, that tunnel turn just reaching out and biting him. And then it just kind of hooked him to the wall there.
Interesting stuff. It seems that CM Pennington was a bit slow coming out of turn 1. He did make the move on Doyle Lawrence, but I don't know, for some reason, he just completely washed up in the middle of turn 1, and that lack of momentum caught out Neller and the other drivers behind.
Well, I imagine at this point we'll see probably everybody hit pit road. 12 laps in is a pretty good distance into this race.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's pretty much bang on a quarter of the way through, if not a little more. So with 4 tyre sets total, you'd think that this is a prime opportunity for them to jump in and get some fresh rubber on these vehicles. Of course, still quite a bit of time to go until they are able to get round to pit lane once again, but they have caught up to the pace car, and Abner Acosta still having those technical issues. It's a pretty normal thing at this stage to happen to Abner Acosta. It hasn't exactly cost him much. He's still been able to stay in the session anytime that's happened, but there's still something to look out for. Now, do they go into the pit lane is the question. Looks like everyone filing over to drivers left of the racetrack, and they will make their way in to the pit lane. Of course, you see the pit entry road there that is not used in pretty much any series. As typical with stock cars, you jump into the pit lane coming out of the final turn, and no surprise there, everyone making their way in. Does anyone decide to stay out and pull a bit of a surprise? As things stand, I'm not seeing anyone go for it.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Reese. It looks like everybody's heading pit side, which can't say that I blame them at this point. Those tires have taken some abuse here in the early stages. And like you said, about a quarter of the way through this one. So time to get some fresh rubber and try again.
We do have one driver flying the flag out on the racetrack. It looks to be James Dewar in truck number 55. He stayed out. He'll filter through into the lead. Will he decide to pit on the next lap? Looks like Charles Sumner has beaten everyone else out of pit road. Actually, he missed his pit box there, so that's not optimal there for Charles Sumner. He'll probably filter through to the back of the field when he decides to come in, but it will be Abner Acosta who leads the way out of the pit lane and staying down on the apron. Everyone else, though, immediately going to the racing surface. Coming through turn one, it is still Evans in second place, but it looks like Danny Cervantes up into third with Bradley Holly now in fourth place. Overall, I should say. Corrected. So on track, it is James Dewar and Charles Sumner in the top two positions. We should expect them to make their way into the lane. But on corrected order, it is Acosta, Evans, Cervantes, Holly and Thomas, your top five.
You know, I'm kind of surprised Charles Sumner managed to miss his pit stall. I believe his pit board, isn't that just like a giant orange? It should stand out a little bit, you'd think.
Yeah, I think so too, but, you know, strange things often happen in sim racing. There goes Dewar into his box, and Mr. Sumner will make his way in now. Is his pit board orange? Let's see. Actually, no, it's...
you know, that is pretty subtle. Okay, I'll give him a pass on that one.
Yeah, well, you can see the frustration displayed there by Charles Sumner. That was a mistake that did not need to be made, and he'll filter through right to the back of the field, I would imagine. We do have three trucks out of the race at the moment. Number 9, Doyle Lawrence. Number 3, Randy Caldwell. And number 18, Rob Neller. Of course, Lawrence was dealing with damage in the early stages. Caldwell suffering a bit of a disconnect issue. Doyle Lawrence has manually disconnected from the session, so I think we can confirm him as a retirement. But Caldwell is making his way back out onto the racetrack as we speak.
Well, we saw that happen to Abner Acosta last week. Lost connection and ended up coming back and dropped all the way down to 30th and managed to come home with the top 10.
Yeah, it was a brilliant drive from Abner Acosta managing the cautions. And it's looking like it's more of the same this time around. The lights are off on the pace car, so we will be going green at the end of this lap. And it's business as usual on the front row with Evans on the outside, but we'll have to wait and see if he's able to keep pace with Acosta on the restart, unlike he was able to on the initial start of this race. So at the end of lap 14, start of lap 15, we will go green once again. They stick very close to the pace car this time around. When does Abner Acosta decide to go? Waits for the green flag, and we are away. It's an even start. Up at the front, Bradley Holly was a little better on the throttle. He moves up into third and pushes Jeff Evans as they make their way towards turn one. Evans is just going to edge ahead on the way into the first turn. Does he cut down to the inside? No, it's a bit too dangerous to do that at the moment. So Abner Acosta will remain there in the lead, almost washed up a little bit. Has to give Evans the room. And Evans with a very good run down the first of our 2 back stretches here at Pocono Raceway, side by side for the lead through the tunnel turn. Evans on the outside will think, yeah, you know what, Abner, I think I might let you have that and try and come back at you in a little bit. But crucially, Bradley Holly has not lost out much. He is now in 3rd and is really pressuring these guys up at the front.
Yeah, I think Abner's approach there to turn number 2 really shows his road racing prowess as you see him snaking across that front straightaway, trying to break up the draft. A technique you saw back in the days of handsome Harry Gant, one of the first drivers to really put that effort on breaking up the draft here at Pocono back in the 80s and 90s. And Abner trying to put that to work as well. You see him doing it again, pulling down to the bottom of the straightaway, breaks up any advantage that the 41 had to try to get a slipstream on him. And a very smart heads-up move by Acosta to try to keep himself at the front of the field.
Oh, a little bit of a mistake for Jeff Evans. You saw there, he just kissed the apron coming into the tunnel turn, but Bradley Holly doesn't go for it coming into the final corner. We've got another caution out. And, oh goodness, looks like Paulo Guerra and Joshua Tellez, along with a bunch of other trucks, making their way down onto the apron. Sumner is one of them. Nick Hunter and CM Pennington stopped up high on the racetrack. That looks like quite a big incident. We'll have to grab a replay of that, see what on earth went on. Actually looks to me like Nick Hunter... Oh, this incident happened in a couple of stages, Chris. It actually looks like Bob Clement involved in an incident there with Clayton Curry. Hunter checking up to try and stop it, but that created a concertina. Everyone else just piling in.
Yeah, just a domino effect there. Just the more things happened, the more trucks that just got caught up in it. And Charles Sumner, you really got to feel for that one mistake on pit road, put him in the position to get caught up in that. And with a lot of smoke coming out of the back as he headed towards the pit lane. So it looks like that may be the end of his day, or at least any chance of the day being competitive for him after such a great finish last week.
That's what happened to the 88 of Joshua Tellez, just getting a tap in the rear from Paulo Guerra and very heavy into the wall. We got to remember there's no fast repairs in this series. As we check out the view from Sumner, he sees all this happening in front of him, and yeah, wow. I couldn't really see if he had anywhere to go there. It's very difficult to make a decision what side to go in an incident like that. It's very unpredictable.
Yeah, definitely Charles had to make a split-second decision there, and you only have so many options when there's still trucks rolling around the track. So he had no way of knowing where that truck was going to go. Unfortunately, it went right into his path. And like I said, it's probably going to be game over for Charles here today.
Interesting to see Mark Kalin down on pit road. Not too sure what the deal is there. He's going to fall all the way down the field. Wondering if maybe he... no, he's going in to take service and take tyres. That's an interesting decision there. It's going to be all 4. Of course, I believe that he pitted under the last caution as well. He did, so not too sure why he's decided to go to his 3rd set of tyres already here with way more than half the race still to go.
Yeah, I'm very curious what the potential strategy implications are for the 62 of Kalin there, deciding to take tires and fuel under that most recent caution.
Well, we had black and orange flags, commonly known as the meatball, for heavy damage for cars 88 and 98. That's Tellez and Sumner. The number 9 and the number 18, Lawrence and Nella, DNFing, and car number 55, which is James Dewar, getting himself a black flag for passing under yellow. And sometimes the administrators of this series will clear such black flags, but it's unclear if they're going to do the same for Dewar here today. But James still circulating out there and still on the lead lap, which is crucial. Of course, Pocono's such a long circuit that you can afford to make a couple of mistakes and go into pit road a couple of times without losing a lap to everyone else.
That is very true. These caution laps here take close to a minute and a half. When you think a regular lap here with fresh tires is usually 55 seconds, and actually with that last one around looked like about 2 minutes for the most of these drivers. So they're going to double up here. We'll get ready to go green next time, but that does mean it's going to be a couple more minutes till we get this one back underway.
Indeed. Well, at least a minute left until the green flag drops, and business as usual up the front. It is still Acosta and Evans, your top two, with Holly and Cervantes third and fourth. Currently in fifth place, Richard Thomas. He's worked his way up very nicely, as has Brendan Chatley. They both gained 8 positions along with Bradley Holly. Ryan Goodall, he didn't quite nail his pit stop under the first caution, and he dropped outside the top 4. In terms of positions gained, it seems the driver that has gained the most is Bob Clement. He is up into, it seems, 20th place, and that is a 12-position gain for him. Very good to see for Bob, who hasn't had the best luck this season in terms of crashes.
Yeah, there's been a few drivers bit by that bug here, and you can see quite a few drivers moving up a good distance in the running order. 3 in the top 10 that have moved up 8 positions from where they started. So a lot of movers and shakers here at Pocono so far, as we're coming to the end of lap 19 to get back underway.
Once again, it is Abner Acosta who's going to control them as they move away, and he's waited until the green flag both times so far. Is this going to be the case again, or does he decide to pull a bit of a surprise? He pulls a bit of a surprise just an instant before the green flag, gets a fantastic jump over the rest of the field, and it's going to be Jeff Evans trying to hold the rest of them back here. Bradley Holly just able to get ahead of Danny Cervantes and consolidate third place, or does he? Cervantes firing it into the first turn there. Can he hold it around the outside? That will compromise Bradley Holly's exit a little bit, and that looks like it is going to allow Cervantes to get into third place coming into the tunnel turn. Fantastic run around the outside for Danny, but Evans wasting no time in the draft of Abner Acosta trying to catch back up.
Yeah, not very often you see Bradley Holly lose positions on a restart like that, but just a great move there by Danny Cervantes to break into the top 3. And, not enough can be said about that restart that Abner Acosta had. It is a huge advantage here when you can get the kind of jump that he did and be able to move up in front of the field to have the better approach into turn number 1. And once again, you see him trying that move, snaking around the front straightaway, breaking up the draft. And it's not something you see as much on iRacing as you do in the real world, but right now Abner's making that work for him here, and he's playing good defense and getting out to a 0.3 of a second advantage here, just a couple laps back under green.
We just saw James Dewar pull back into the pit lane, and that would have been to serve the penalty that he had been assigned for passing illegally on the last restart. Also hearing that there is a black flag for car 519. That's Joao Guerra. We'll have to wait and see what he decides to do, as he's still carrying quite a bit of damage to the front of his truck. But look at this battling here in the top 10. Paul Williams just getting a slight run on Richard Thomas around the outside, with Ryan Goodall giving him a push. And into turn 1 they go. Thomas with a slight bit of overlap here. He has the right to the inside at the first turn. Slightly washing up is Paul Williams, but he keeps the foot in it. And that translates into another good run coming down at a tunnel turn. Will he be able to clear Thomas by the time they get there? Doesn't quite look like it. Thomas just keeping a slight bit of overlap there and continuing this side-by-side running. But again, it seems that if you're on the outside on exit, then you are the one with the advantage. And this is bringing Clayton Montgomery right back into it as well.
Yeah, it sure is. Montgomery is right there in the mix with those two other trucks around him. And really, the whole field not that far apart from each other right now.
Yeah, they're all in the frame, pretty much. Aside from a couple of stragglers. I think that was Joao Guerra there up in the top right going into the lane to serve his black flag. But they keep it nice and clean here up at the front. And Abner Acosta is doing a fantastic job at gapping everyone behind him. Just a fantastic run. Meanwhile, seems to me that Bradley Holly starting to pile on the pressure versus Danny Cervantes, just kissing the apron behind the number 25 Chevrolet Silverado. Hearing that James Dewar got a second black flag on pit exit, and that would have either been for speeding in the lane or an unsafe exit, so might as well take some service while he's down there as the rest of the field goes on by, and that will put James Dewar a lap down, more than a lap down now, along with CM Pennington and Randy Caldwell, who are still circulating. It's looking pretty calm up at the front at the moment. Not many big moves being made. It is down in the midfield where there seems to be a lot of the racing action. We're looking at it now. The number 54 of Ricky Barbary getting passed by Colton Lane. Lane now up into 13th. They got AJ Roderick up at the front of this pack, who has gained 11 positions so far in this race. A little bit wide there for Ricky Barbary, and into the wall he goes, loses a ton of momentum. He's going to get swallowed up by Adam Zemke, by Adam Shane, potentially by Bob Clement as they make their way into the final turn. That just goes to show you an ever so slight error, a slight tap of the wall, those safer barriers will suck you right in.
Yeah, and that's such a hard part of the track to lose momentum there. It's a low-speed corner, so you get slowed down extra there, and everybody's just able to freight train past you. But I gotta say, every time so far that we've mentioned Ricky Barbary, I always think you're gonna say Ricky Bobby. Every time so far.
Yeah, and I think with my Australian accent, it almost sounds like I'm going to say Ricky Bobby or something like that. But yeah, goodness.
Oh, I had no idea you were Australian. Have you always been Australian?
Yes, I have, of course, always, from the moment I was born.
Well, I'll be. I had no idea.
Is that legit? Did you legitimately not know I was Australian?
No, I'm just coming up with playful banter here in this middle part of the race.
Righto. Well, Ricky Barbary has made another mistake, it seems. Again, man, I'm not too good at interpreting banter, but Barbary has managed to catch the wall again out of turn 3 and lost even more positions. Now he's down to 21st, and Abner Acosta starting to come up to first bit of lapped traffic, it seems. He's got Joao Guerra just up ahead of him as Barbary manages to jump on into the groove once more. Guerra taking a very early entry into turn 3 and seems just letting Abner go with not much fuss. This is going to be stressful here for Guerra. Bit of a compromised run. He's still carrying a lot of damage, but he will be able to get points as long as he gets to the finish. And it looks like that pack for second has cleared him without much fuss themselves.
Yeah, I was going to say that 519 truck, Guerra, I mean, gosh, that thing looks like it's been through a war already, and we still have 19 laps to go.
I will make a little bit of a clarification for my my misinterpretation of the banter earlier. I have had people mistake me for being British before. My accent is not quite the stereotypical Australian accent. It's more of a Perth one, and I did watch a lot of British media as a kid, so potentially that has affected my accent somewhat.
I completely understand. I'm from not too far away from Canada, so sometimes I get that one thrown at me.
Yeah, I do hear a little of the about in your voice sometimes, Chris.
Plus, I'm just so darn polite.
Of course. You haven't apologized that much, though, so I'm not too sure about the Canadian mistaken identity. As we see number 48, Thomas Sink, lining up a move here on Ryan Goodall, who's continuing to ever so slowly drop down the order, and well, that's certainly going to do it, isn't it? Yellow flag for Ryan Goodall, and right in the middle of the racetrack. Seems that everyone avoiding him, though, slowing down. Very good to see that everyone's got their heads screwed on now when the caution comes out, but with that engine smoking, I think that's Goodall out of the running for sure.
That's right. Much like the toilets in Australia, while everyone else was going left, he went right and head on into the wall there. And luckily enough, our director, Zach Johnson, right on it, and actually was able to catch a little bit of that live at the scene. And oof.
That was Richard
pounded the wall
in the rear.
Yeah, that is a tough hit for sure. Makes you thankful that we're doing this virtually.
Yeah, certainly. It was a big hit. Head on into the safer barrier. Goodness me. And I think if this were a real race, that would probably require a barrier replacement, maybe a race stoppage for a bit. But thankfully, safer barriers are indestructible in iRacing.
Not to mention a trip to the chiropractor.
Well, it's a big shame there for Ryan Goodall. After a fantastic qualifying performance, he had the potential to finish on the podium here today, but that is putting paid to that. Well, with 17 laps to go, I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of drivers decide to make their second visit to pit lane for a fresh set of tyres to the end.
Yeah, I am curious what the pit strategy will be. We had a somewhat decent green flag run there. Looks like, yep, everyone heading pit side, it looks like.
And away we go. Everyone in the pits. As these drivers make their pit stops, I have to say I always get a bit amused by the old toilet swirling comparison between the Northern Hemisphere and Australia, because here in Down Under, we actually don't have toilets that make a whirlpool in the bowl. It's more of a straight-up flush driving water into the bowl, so we don't get much of a chance to make that meaningful comparison between cyclonic and anticyclonic water patterns. Everyone going into the lane there, and it looks like at least one driver making some fantastic gains there on pit road. Actually, it looks like Bradley Holly, who's managed to vault himself up into second place on pit exit. A fantastic stop there for Bradley Holly, 14.7 seconds, and that's another position gain for him.
I'm going to be honest, Reese, for a second there I thought you were going to tell me that Australians don't use toilets at all. And,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you for expecting that. I mean, certainly out in the bush where there's not much plumbing, you know, you do have the old outhouse.
I was going to say, maybe you could just go out back of the house, huh?
Yes, indeed. One measure of truth is you always have to be careful of spiders when you go to the bathroom in Australia. Even when you sit down outside, it's pretty much an instinctive activity to just check under the chair, see if there's any creepy crawlies who might send you to the hospital.
Yeah, they actually had to take a episode of Peppa Pig off of the air in Australia because that British-based show said that spiders can't hurt you, and in Australia, spiders can definitely hurt you.
Wow, that's just straight up irresponsible programming. As we see Joao Guerra make his way back into the lane, probably to get some more damage repaired.
Well, in all fairness, not all of us live in places where the bugs are the size of our heads.
This is true. Actually, interesting to note, one of the biggest spiders we get here in Australia, the huntsman spider, is actually completely harmless. In fact, they're more scared of humans than we are of them. and the vast majority of creatures here in Australia that can hurt you, as long as you leave them alone, they won't give you too much of a hard time. But of course, you always have to take a good amount of care.
And you got to watch out for those dingoes too. I hear they like the taste of babies.
Oh goodness, don't even. Bloody hell. Dingoes are far away from me here in the Perth metropolitan area, though I would say that we do have a couple at the zoo. Very much an outback creature, the dingo. Apparently they make really good pets as well.
Well, can't be any worse than my complaining cat that you may be hearing in the background right now.
I hear no meows, so you're all fine on that, Chris. Well, we're going to be going green at the end of this lap. 15 laps to go in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series here at Pocono, round 3 of 2022 Season 1. And it's Abner Acosta who has led the way all the way through. But thanks to that pit stop, Bradley Holly now with a proper shot at victory after a comparatively poor qualifying performance. So we'll see what he can do on this restart. He'll be starting on the outside. Gonna have to keep an eye on what Abner Acosta decides to do. Aaron Webb given an end-of-line penalty by race control. As Abner Acosta goes early, we go green. And it will be Bradley Holly who immediately moves down to the inside, trying to catch any whisper of a draft he can off Abner Acosta, but he does leave the door slightly open to Jeff Evans, but he won't be able to make much of a move with Danny Cervantes on his outside for 4th and 3rd. And Cervantes piling into turn 1 to try and keep that position, but it is Acosta and Holly up at the front. And that's a place that we've seen those two drivers in various combinations much of the time in this series. Cervantes still managing to keep Evans behind him. Great way to take 3rd round the outside on those fresh tyres. But Evans, ever so slight better exit out of the tunnel turn. It's giving a good advantage to Brendan Chatley as well, who's keeping them very honest there. But Acosta and Holly, well, their only focus is on each other. Look at how far ahead they are already.
Cervantes has been an absolute beast on the restarts here the last couple times, gaining positions and looking great off of the restart. But for the first real time today, Abner Acosta looks like he's under threat at the top of the field. Bradley Holly not letting him get too far away.
Well, Bradley Holly has certainly taken advantage of the draft here, and with Abner Acosta continuing to weave, Holly is right on it. Wondering if/when he'll be able to make the pass. Whether or not Holly has enough confidence in his car that those tyres will be able to do the job. But Cervantes continuing to hold on to 3rd here, and Jeff Evans had a slight look to the inside, maybe an ever so slight bit of contact to the left rear quarter of Danny Cervantes, but Danny stays ahead. And everyone in single file coming down the front stretch. Further back in the field, though, Adam Shane fighting hard here with Clayton Curry, Jim Westerfield, Daniel Ailey. They got Ricky Barbary there, who has miraculously managed to get that damage repaired under the last caution and is back out on the racetrack. But not having the best of times out there, as you can see, having to let all of those guys go with Michael Lemieux now clearing him on the way out of turn 1.
And looking like down on the apron there in the tunnel turn. That's a bit of a bold move.
Ooh. Yeah, Truck 666, Daniel Ailey, who was involved in one of the opening cautions of the night. He seems to be keeping it together here, coming out of turn 3. Not too much in the way of trouble happening there. In terms of lap times, you can't really put anything between Bradley Holly and Abner Acosta at the moment. They are line astern at the front of the field. Cervantes still trying his best to break away from Jeff Evans in 3rd place as Ailey goes to the outside. Coming out of turn 1. Will he be able to get the move done here on Stacey Hunter? Definitely looks like it. Well clear of Stacey on the way into the tunnel turn. but Hunter will try and consolidate this inside line. Yeah, not quite able to hold on to it, and has to compromise the exit slightly as well, with Ricky Barbary still there on the outside.
And really, this middle of the pack here has had some great battles going on the last couple laps as we're getting to the 10 to go point. So just a couple handfuls of laps left here in the closing stages.
Definitely getting to crunch time now as we check out Mark Kalin up at the front of this pack here with AJ Roderick, Austin Hunter and Richard Thomas. A few of the mini cars behind him in this line in the midfield, battling just outside the top 10. There's some excellent runs happening throughout the field. Bob Clement is still holding on to the most positions gained award. Is up to 16th now. That's 15 positions gained from where he started. An awesome run indeed. AJ Roderick is up 13 positions. Daniel Ailey up 12. Michael Lemieux up 10. So a lot of drivers having a good run here tonight, of course, benefiting from the problems for our 5 retirees. There's the 56 up the inside. AJ Roderick on Mark Kalin in turn 1, and Austin Hunter trying to search for some kind of advantage there as well. It seems to me that Kalin's managed to clear them though, so that will be another few corners waiting to make the move. Bradley Holly is waiting as well. Around the outside of tunnel turn, oy, oy, oy. You see quite the bit of oversteer. But Abner Acosta, with now coming up to 8 laps to go, will have to start looking in his mirrors. Bradley Holly will undoubtedly start to ramp up the pressure here. This top 2, they've battled each other all season long last year. 2021 was so close between them, and it's looking like 2022 is going to be more of the same.
It's looking that way so far. For a second there, it was looking like Acosta was able to get away, but Holly closing that gap back up here.
And back on the draft break as well. As down the front stretch, those drivers that have had not the best of times. Ricky Barbary still struggling, but he does remain on the lead lap. Unfortunately, it looks like he is going to lose a position there to Nick Hunter. So it's down to 25th now for Ricky. But first and second, no change up here so far. What does Bradley Holly need to do here if he wants to make the move?
I gotta say, it has been an absolute pleasure to see this rivalry develop between these two. And with just 7 laps left, it looks like this will be another pretty good chapter in this book that we've seen written the last few years.
That's a big draft there for Bradley Holly on the way into tunnel turn. Got a bit of lap traffic to deal with as well. Who is that? That's CM Pennington. He's carrying a lot of damage to his front. Acosta's going to go up the inside there into turn 3. Pennington gives them a ton of room. Good to see. Bradley Holly's dropped off ever so slightly there through turn 3. It seems Acosta very strong through the second half of the lap. Well, Holly wouldn't have had to work his tyres as hard as he had on the previous restarts to try and stay in touch with Abner, but yeah, I'm not too sure what Holly can do from here. Seems that he's driving that thing to its max at the moment, and Abner just holding station.
Yeah, it looks like they're both putting a lot of effort into it here, but Abner really in a good position there, keeping enough of a gap between them that Holly can't really capitalize. And yeah, I think you're right here, Reese. It's really strange to see the way this series has gone in the past, but barring a mistake from Abner, it's going to be really tough for Bradley to run him down.
Well, the battle is still on for third as you see a pass happening here. Paul Williams on Clayton Montgomery. That's between 6th and 7th. Williams holding on to 6th, making their way into tunnel turn. Clayton has done quite well to keep himself in the top 10. He has lost one position, but still holding on, as that looks like quite the move. Thomas Sink getting up the inside of Richard Thomas, and Austin Hunter right behind all of this, along with Colton Lane. They could certainly take advantage if these two end up coming together, but they give each other a lot of room and will filter back in. Oh, almost tried to move up there, did Thomas Sink. Maybe giving a little kiss to the right rear quarter of Richard Thomas, and with the momentum coming into turn 1, that's going to be Richard Thomas now up into 10th place, sorry. And trying his best now to get the move done on Thomas Sink. Oh, goodness me. Gently does it, everyone. Looking like this race is certainly going to go to its lap length. We have had a few cautions so far, but it doesn't seem enough cautions to make it go time certain, which is good to see. This will probably be the first race of the season that doesn't go time certain.
Yeah, it looks like we should be safe on that front, barring any last-minute catastrophes, and Thomas Sink able to sneak away a position or two here in the closing stages as well. Good for him.
Abner Acosta has brought out an amazing gap on Bradley Holly while we weren't looking at them. Seems that Holly has certainly dropped off now. Just running back to check to see if anything happened between them. It doesn't look like any big errors from Bradley Holly. Maybe his tires have just cried enough.
Well, this would be the point in the race where you do see that with just a few laps left. It's too late to really do anything about it. Your decisions that you made in the stages of the race before this, you have to live with. Looks like we got somebody up under the wall there. Oh, it's Richard Thomas. Well, that's unfortunate. He was having a pretty good run there for a while.
Looks like just coming together with Colton Lane coming into turn 3, and oh, there was the lap car of Ryan Traver. They ended up checking up. That resulted in Austin Hunter making contact with Richard Thomas. And goodness me, Richard having a very tough time there. He's probably got a meatball flag, too much damage, but with only 2 laps to go, you might as well stay out. Try and get the best finish possible. This battle for third is still not over. Danny Cervantes still trying to hold off Jeff Evans and Brendan Chatley. Could there be a last gasp, last lap move? That's a big break of the draft there from Cervantes. He knows exactly what he needs to do, but it is white flag for Abner Acosta. And I think I'd be confident in saying it's been a flawless drive from the number 5.
I would definitely agree there, Reese. And man, this battle for third is going to be pretty intense here on the last lap. You have 3 very hungry drivers that are still very much in the hunt as we head off towards turn number 2 here in just a moment.
Will there be any moves made into the last turn? Bradley Holly has just tapped the wall. He does stay with good momentum, and he should be able to keep that position, but a little bit of damage towards the end. Those tires are definitely past their best. But for Abner Acosta, out of the final corner, he will take victory in the 3rd round of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series here at Pocono. Fantastic drive there from the private label Team Hype driver. Bradley Holly holds on for 2nd, and Danny Cervantes will complete the podium. Seemed that Evans and Chatley were unable to do anything about it.
Yeah, definitely a hard-fought third place there for Danny Cervantes, but definitely well earned.
I'm in full agreement there. Well, Acosta will certainly be happy with that. Coming back for victory, his first of 2022. In this series at least. And Richard Thomas across the line, very slow. Thinking that maybe his engine blew, but fortunately he does hold on for a finish in the last car on the lead lap. Well, that's going to be customary victory donuts here for Abner Acosta. He's got Mark Kalin coming up behind him. And with that done, we'll go to a very quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Whoop, there we go. Probably the first time Abner's hit the wall all night. We'll be back very soon to get our race results and interviews with our top three.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every question there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer. Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company.
Well, that was a fantastic run at Pocono in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Here's how it all stacked up at the end. Abner Acosta leading the whole way to take a dominant victory there, with Bradley Holly coming home in second place from 11th. That's a fantastic drive from Holly, considering his qualifying performance. Danny Cervantes comes home in third with Jeff Evans in fourth. Brendan Chatley rounding out the top 5, 3 seconds behind. Clayton Montgomery is going to come home in sixth, exactly where he started, with Paul Williams gaining 3 positions to finish in 7th. Mark Kalin and Thomas Sink both losing 1, but they still get top 10s for their trouble. And then it's Colton Lane who rounds out the top 10.
Coming home just outside of the top 10 was Adam Zemke, bringing it home 11th with Austin Hunter right behind him. AJ Roderick comes home lucky 13th with Baron Hilton right behind him. Then Jim Westerfield completes the top 15 with Danik Momi, a nice quiet 16th place run. Michael Lemieux in 17th, followed by Bob Clement. In 18th, Adam Shane 19th, and Stacy Hunter completes the top 20.
Finishing in 21st was Clayton Curry, and Daniel Ailey, despite a crash early on, still gaining 11 positions to finish in 22nd. And the last 2 cars to finish on the lead lap, Nick Hunter and Richard Thomas, with a late crash, his engine blowing on the final lap. Ricky Barbary was able to make it back out on track, and a very unfortunate run for him. It was quite the good run. Randy Caldwell, Ryan Traver, James Dewar, and CM Pennington in 29th, with the top 30 rounded out by Joao Guerra. He didn't qualify, and he had a couple of crashes along the way. And these are the final few drivers, with Aaron Webb making it to the end. Ryan Goodall, unfortunately, having to retire. And that's a big shame to see, considering his fantastic performance in qualifying. Sumner, Tellez, Lawrence, and Nella all retiring from this one. Big shame for those guys. But now we can go to our driver interviews, and first up we will have our winner, Abner Acosta for Private Label Team Hype. An absolutely fantastic drive here from the number 5. Abner, welcome to the commentary box. Congratulations on victory. Certainly didn't look too easy from up here in the comms box.
Hello guys, good evening. Yeah, it got difficult at the end with Brad really catching up and just going through the field. And it's hard to shake somebody here on the draft, so yeah, I got close at the end there, but I was able to pull it off.
Do you think that your road course experience helped you out here at Pocono with the fact that every turn is different?
I don't know, maybe not with the trucks, just because you don't have to kind of like brake. I feel like the truck's too slow for, or at least in this package, it's too slow for this track. But maybe it did help some with the different turns. But I think on the Cup car, that's where you have to brake and plus different turns. And here you're just lifting, so it might have helped. But I just think a little bit, not too much.
Well, the gap to Bradley Holly in the driver's standings was already narrow, but it will certainly narrow even more with that victory and the extra point for most laps led. Next week, though, we go to Eldora. What do you think of that place? Certainly different in terms of surface.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a big fan of dirt tracks, and I was hoping to use that as a drop week, but I don't think I can. We'll see what happens. It's difficult to do a dirt track with a Formula 1 rim. So we'll see what happens. I just want to stay out of trouble and maybe get a top 5.
We'll see what happens next week at Eldora Speedway. Before we let you go, Abner, any shout-outs or sponsors? Who gets it done for you?
Yeah, like always, the team, Private Label Team Hype, sponsors Ethica, Neonism, and everybody at the booth at GSRC for broadcasting, and PRL for hosting the league. Thank you.
Thanks very much for joining us, Abner Acosta. Next up, we do have our second place finisher, Bradley Holly. A great run up through the field, stood by with Chris Phoebe.
Well, Brad, that was a great run from you, and I gotta say, despite some tough qualifying there, you definitely made good progress, and you for sure got it done in the pits tonight.
Yeah, just tonight was definitely, I got lucky on that first lap with the big old checkup at coming out on 1. If I didn't have that, I may have had some issues getting past because it was so tough to pass tonight.
Yeah, it definitely looked like it in those last stages. You were able to catch up to Abner, but it looked like passing him was going to be a whole other challenge for you.
Yeah, for sure. It felt like there was a little bit of a bubble, basically, between bumpers. Like once I got to 0.2 of a second, I felt like I couldn't get a run because I was getting too tight. But I gave it my all, and I'll have to get back at it next week.
Now we do head to a vastly different track in Eldora 1 week from tonight. What are your expectations going into that one?
Practice as much as I can. I do love dirt racing. I've got some dirt racing experience in my background, so I feel confident going into next.
All right. Who would you like to thank to help make tonight possible for you?
I'd like to thank the Waterback guys first off. We practice week in and week out, try to be up front. I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting with us every week. Y'all put on a great show, and then everybody in the PRL organization, we do everything we can to make these as fun and fair races each week.
All right. Well, that is our runner-up finisher, Bradley Holly, here tonight. Back to you, Reese.
Back to me indeed, and I've got Danny Cervantes with me with a fantastic podium finish. Danny, top 5 qualifying, excellent stuff here at Pocono, but it seemed that the restarts were where you were the strongest.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like the only way you could pass was right off the restart because I felt like the draft and the clean air was too important. And then once everyone got spread out, it was just hard to make a run, so you had to make most of what you could do with the restarts. And those 2 times I started on the outside, I was able to pin Brad on the first restart and then Jeff on the last restart. And that's how I was able to keep third.
How did the tires hold up here at Pocono?
The tires, they felt great for the first 2 laps, but that's typical oval tires that feel great for 2 laps and they fall off a cliff. So it's pretty much just managing your right front and try not to overheat it, not scrub it off when you're putting the power down, especially on the exit of 3 and the exit of 1. Just trying to take care of your stuff.
Well, tyres are definitely not going to be an issue at Eldora next week. Have you raced there before? What do you think of the place?
I am not a dirt racer at all. I absolutely despise dirt racing. So if I come home clean, I'll feel like that's a win in my book.
Well, we certainly hope that you have a clean finish at Eldora next week. Before we let you go, Danny, anyone you'd like to thank for your podium tonight?
I'd like to thank you guys over at GSRC for putting on a great broadcast, all the stewards and organizers at the PRL to put on this amazing league, and of course all of their sponsors and all the guys at Waterback Racing. They've been, tremendous in helping me out improve both in speed and my racecraft. The past 2 years I've been running with them.
Thanks very much for joining us, Danny Cervantes. Well, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight, Chris. Another great race here in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, but man, I'm hyped for Eldora next week. Dirt racing is quite big down here in Australia, so this is right up my alley.
Yeah, it's a huge transition from what we just saw tonight, going from this to Eldora, but the dirt's known to be a little bit chaotic and a little bit of fun, so we'll be back here next week at the same time to strap in and enjoy it.
We certainly will. One more time, let's thank our series sponsors. Advanced SimRacing. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. Also, RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebutkicker.com. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks must also go to our companies, to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts, listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp page for more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Chris, Zach, and of course Dougie Beard with the cameras. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media on the bottom of the screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As Chris mentioned, the next race is Eldora on the 19th of January at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time. And the next broadcast is going to be the Precision Racing League Formula 3 and Porsche Cup at 8:25 Eastern Time tomorrow. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.